Hello and welcome to this CarGurus UK video review of the Mazda 3 SkyActiv-X. In this review we're going to take a closer look at what promises to be the most interesting and innovative car that's come along in years. But before we do that, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, and if you enjoy this review, give it a like. Now, the X factor in this SkyActiv-X is actually the engine, but before we discuss that, let's take a look at it from a design point of view. In the 5-door hatchback review, we've already raved about Mazda's styling, and in Saloon Guys, Chris thinks it looks fantastic. I think it looks pretty smart, and Mazda calls this the 3 fastback. And if I was to pick out anything that makes it a little bit more sleek, it's definitely the area around this C-pillar. Another advantage of going for the fastback over the hatchback is the size of the boot. It's quite a lot bigger actually. You've got 419 litres here instead of 364 that you get in the hatchback. Only downsides are that this load lip is quite high and you don't get as big an opening as you do in the hatchback. So loading bulkier items in can be a little tricky. As with the hatchback, the rear seats fold in to increase load capacity further, although again the narrower boot opening will stop you from carrying larger items. Rear seat space is one of the major drawbacks of the Mazda 3. It's just not as roomy as a Ford Focus or Volkswagen Golf. I'm 5'4½", so I have enough room. I'm quite comfortable here, but if you're carrying taller passengers or if you've got car seats that are facing backwards, the rear facing child seats, you may find that this Mazda isn't quite spacious enough. Just like the hatchback, the fastback is available with either a petrol or a diesel engine, but today we're going to focus on the SkyActiv-X petrol unit. Just popped the bonnet. And the reason for that is because if you're familiar with Mazda as a company, you'll know that it doesn't like to do things conventionally. It likes to do things its own way, and there's no better example of that than with this engine. It's a 4-cylinder 2-litre with no turbocharger to help with performance, which all sounds relatively normal enough, but it goes beyond that. That's because it uses Mazda's unique spark-controlled compression ignition technology. So it's effectively a petrol engine that can switch between spark ignition and a form of compression ignition to combine the smoothness and high revving nature of a petrol engine with the low CO2 emissions and excellent fuel economy of a diesel. Doing this requires a very lean air-to-fuel mixture, which the SkyActiv-X engine achieves with the help of an electronic supercharger to pump more air into the cylinders. A small spark is then used to ignite a richer zone of atomised fuel directly around the spark plug, which in turn causes the lean mixture to ignite as well. The inclusion of a 24-volt mild hybrid system also helped optimise performance and economy. The result is a 180 horsepower engine that returns 50 miles per gallon in official fuel economy tests and emits just 96 grams per kilometre of CO2. Some collection of stats, and we'll find out what those mean for the driving experience in just a moment. But first, let's remind ourselves of just how nice it is in the Mazda 3. For example, these surfaces across the top of the dash just look and feel really smart. The dials are really easy to read and everything feels solid and well put together. Well, the bananas are balanced on there, they're not part of the car. Anyway, it's a very, very pleasant place to spend time. Mazda's latest infotainment system with its widescreen layout and the combination of touch and rotary control is excellent too. The display is beautifully rendered and it's an easy system to navigate. Considering how revolutionary the engine is, it's surprising how normal it feels. It's not like an electric car where everything feels completely different to what you're used to. Quite the opposite, in fact. It feels conventional. And although you can detect a slightly different engine note at low revs, it's much smoother and quieter than a 4-cylinder diesel would be. It's also usefully quicker than the standard Mazda 3 2-litre engine that we tested in our previous video. The official stats say this Mazda 3 will get from 0 to 62 in 8.2 seconds, which is 2 seconds faster than a standard 2-litre petrol in a Mazda 3. It's also got noticeably more mid-range torque as well, and it will happily rev to just shy of 7,000 RPM. This 6-speed manual gearbox is fantastic, and it has a direct, snappy action. In performance terms then, the SkyActiv-X engine fares well, even though it's still no hot hatch. We've been getting between 45 and 50 miles per gallon, so think of it as somewhere between a 2-litre diesel and an equivalent 2-litre naturally aspirated petrol. Bear in mind, if you go for the 4-wheel drive or automatic, then those fuel economy figures will take a hit. As for the ride and handling, it's every bit as good as any other Mazda 3. Which is to say excellent, whether it's the natural feel to the steering or the controlled ride or the quick and consistent response to controls. Overall, it feels satisfyingly well engineered. That word, engineering, so often springs to mind with Mazda's cars, and the 3 SkyActiv-X is no exception. It really does feel like the engineers got their way over marketing or the accountants with this finished result. And if you love cars, there's something really rather appealing about that. Would you consider a Mazda 3 SkyActiv-X over one of the more obvious family car contenders? Let us know in the comments below, and please do subscribe and turn on those notifications so you'll know when a new video goes live. And remember, when it comes to finding your next car, you can easily find great deals from top-rated dealers at cargurus.co.uk.